Hello there. I am Rosetree, and I'm here to talk to you about how it's possible to have cutting cords of attachment be a permanent form of energy healing. I work in a field that has a long name and a short name. The long name is Rosetree Energy Spirituality. The short name is RES. And one of the things that's best known in this field is cutting cords of attachment, partly because this is the only paperback in English about how to cut a cord of attachment. A 2-page explanation somewhere, a little bit of online screen is not a method. I think another reason why I'm known for work with cutting cords of attachment is that I have the only trademarked system in the United States for cutting cords of attachment. And I bothered to trademark it because it works. It's amazing how this whole area of cutting cords of attachment has changed since I published this book in its first edition long ago. And I've been able to help a lot of people. One nice thing about this book and also the eBook, which is shorter and easier, called Cut Cords of Attachment for Self-Healing. See, this one is about heal yourself and others, meaning friends and family members with energy spirituality. So I can't hold up the other one because it's only an ebook. This is an ebook plus a paperback. Here's the deal. Both of them teach you skills that really work. And that matters because, well, have you ever heard somebody tell you something like, I go to my healer once a week so he can cut the cord of attachment to my father. It keeps growing back. If somebody says or does that sort of thing, this is something that you might want to know as a consumer or tell your friend who keeps throwing good money after bad with a healer who might be good at other things, but sure doesn't have skill at cutting a cord of attachment. When you have good skills for cutting a cord of attachment, it is a permanent healing, and you will never have a cord of attachment to that person again for the rest of your life. And there will be logical consequences or benefits for you. Your human life will be better in certain ways that have to do with what was in that cord of attachment. And that's good to know. Now, this is the most complex skill of RES that I teach in book form. And I don't recommend that you buy this book as your first book on energy skills for healing in RES. It would be really good to start with book 1 of that series and work your way up that series. You can sample that series at my website, rosetree.com. You still can learn. Just don't start there. This is much more technical and complicated than other skills that I can teach you. What's so great about it, though, is how it works. Now, in this book on cutting cords of attachment, there's lots of techniques that are in kind of gray boxes. And then there's stories from the thousands of clients I've had cutting cords of attachment. And I thought I'd tell you a story about this. A story about Gladys. Yes, I do use the names Joe and Gladys to represent a lot of people and show respect for confidentiality. Anyway, here's a story about cutting a cord of attachment for a client, Gladys, who only had one session with me. I wrote about her actually in this book, but I never thought I would see her again. See, I used to do workshops and sessions for the premier seminar company in Japan called Voice, a wonderful opportunity for me to help people. And I actually made 13 different trips. I've spent over a year of my life in Japan helping people with the help of interpreters. And there was this woman, Gladys. I facilitated cutting the horrible, horrible cord of attachment she had to her father, who was an incest guy. It was gross. And I told her about logical consequences she could expect. And I said, sayonara. And I never thought I would see her again. Well, fast forward about 6 years, and I am at the big train station in Tokyo. It's enormous. Now, I'm a native New Yorker, and I've been in Grand Central, and I've been in other stations like Victoria Station, but this one is just like the mother of all large stations. And strangely enough, all the people just about speak Japanese there, which made it all the more overwhelming to me. I was waiting for my handler to come because I had the honor of going to Osaka to do sessions. So I was just standing there, marveling, like, oh. And I started to recognize this woman I had only met for an hour those many years ago. I totally recognized her. She looked great. And I don't have a visual memory, but she was important to me. And she looked great. And she recognized me too. What are the odds? So she came over and we started talking in our different languages, and we could not understand each other, and we hugged. And then she sort of held up a finger to tell me in the universal language of finger pointing, I'll be back. And she was back in 5 minutes, and she had found me a gift. She'd found me a gift. It wasn't actually a box like I just grabbed off of the table, but it was a little picture. You know, in Japan, people make gifts. It's a real art, giving gifts. And Gladys, she gave me a present. She found me a present in 5 minutes, a sweet little picture. And then she bowed and thanked me some more. And we said goodbye. And you know, I have a hunch that she didn't just go to the trouble of giving me that gift because she has good manners. It meant something for her. It was a life-changing opportunity for her. And yes, you can learn that skill set bit by bit by bit, and this book can teach you, and so can the shorter one, which has a similar cover right now, only it's blue. And it says, Cut Cords of Attachment for Self-Healing. I do want to mention, though, that if it's a really nasty cord of attachment, like Gladys to her father, you might want to consider having a session with me or someone else who has been professionally trained in RES. And that way, the maximum scope for the permanent healing will be there for you. I'd like to close with a consumer tip for you. Besides, don't keep going back to somebody who keeps telling you we have to keep cutting the cord of attachment to whoever. This is the consumer tip for you. Anyone who has been trained professionally in RES knows better than to ever advertise, I do cord cutting sessions. Granted, you'll see a lot of that on the internet now. A lot of people are interested in that, and a lot of people will pay for it. And so maybe not surprisingly, there are people who advertise it, and you do it, and you make your appointment, and you say which cord you want cut, and wham, just sort of like going to a delicatessen and ordering a salami sandwich. No RES professional would do that, and I'd like to tell you why. Because what you can learn as a consumer in this age of awakening could really help you. There are 15 or more kinds of stuff that have been identified in the field of RES. Yeah, stuff is the little term we use in this field for stored emotional and energetic, well, garbage at the astral level in a person's aura. There are many kinds of stuff. Cords of attachment are one kind of stuff. There are different skill sets for identifying and moving out stuff in RES, and always it's done in a way that wakes up your soul. There is put in. And by put in, I don't mean like Vladimir Putin. I mean put in. That kind. So when you are considering getting help from somebody with an energy spirituality skill, I urge you to go to an RES practitioner, because that person has the skill to identify what's really the best way to help you. And that person, like me, for instance, when I do sessions, you can find experts I've trained at my blog. I have a whole list of them because I want people to know. I want people like you to know about those people. Go to an expert so that if it's appropriate to cut a cord of attachment, that will be the healing centerpiece. But if it's not, it will not be done, because there are kinds of problem and kinds of stuff where it would not be appropriate and it wouldn't even be helpful. So please avoid anyone who will just do whatever you want and can let you order up a cord cutting session. Go to a professional for this, or do it yourself, or just carry on in your life. Because right now, I sure wish that people knew as much about other skill sets in RES as they do about cutting cords of attachment. It's really a godsend. It's powerful. It's wonderful. And you can learn to do it. Just know that as a consumer, and you'll do great.